Hey, look where we are. It's a toy show. 200 tables worth of fun all weekend long. I can't wait to tell you all about it. Let's begin. Once or twice a year, I like to make the trip from my home in Vancouver, British Columbia, across the water to the very large Victoria's Ultimate Hobby and Toy Fair. And for those who are not familiar with Western Canadian geography, Vancouver and Victoria are in the same province near the coast, but on opposite sides of the water. Thus, it does take a bit of a road trip, meaning heading to the ferry terminal on the Vancouver side, crossing a 90-minute ferry ride, then getting out on the other side to drive over to Victoria out on the island. All in all, a several-hour trip that is worth it to explore the 200 plus tables of Saturday and Sunday's toy show that is hosted by our good friends at Cherry Bomb Toys. As a vendor, that means packing up the car ahead of time and making the journey that I just described a moment ago and setting up on the Friday night ahead of the public show hours. What you'll notice though throughout this video is that some footage will show a lot of foot traffic and some shots there won't be as much. I have to put that disclaimer out there because I want to be very clear that this was a very busy show, but the footage that I filmed will show varying degrees of foot traffic and some clips during the vendor setup time because that's when I could leave my vendor booth to walk around to shoot some clips for this video. My own vendor booth at the show was a corner L shape, and I had fun setting up with my friend Peter, who usually accompanies me for these trips. All in all, it makes the trip more fun, and this booth gives me a good place to drop off my goodies when Peter and I rotate back and forth, where one of us shops for items to buy while the other watches over the booth. At this point though, I'll just run the music over some footage for you all to enjoy and have a look at what was at the show to give you as close to an in-person feel for the type of event and the types of things that could be found at such an eclectic show. I'll point out that on the Saturday, I ran into quite a few people, namely some other Canadian toy tubers who were out shopping, particularly those in the Transformers collecting space. There's Brian, the host of the Excellent T fan page 101 YouTube channel, right here. So what are you looking for today?
Anything?
Anything? That's it? Not specific? No. Alright, hopefully some Transformers for you.
I'm hoping.
Alright, good stuff, man. And to be fair, Brian did tell me after the fact that he didn't realize I was recording, or he may have thrown in a Transformers joke or two there. Hey, and I also ran into Vangelis, another exciting Transformers channel who had a booth at the show. So Vangelis, find anything good at the show so far?
Oh, I found so much good stuff at this table. I say with very little bias that this is probably the best table to purchase things from, and people who buy stuff from this table actually lengthen their lifespans thanks to heightened oxidization. You get more oxygen in your system the more things you purchase from here. So I'm trying to do a service, and I hope that people understand that, like, this is a sacrifice. I could be living forever, but I want to share some of that.
All right, I'm going back to my table now. See you in a bit.
All right.
And somewhat hilariously, a friend who knew that I was out hunting for a G1 Transformers Countdown playset from the 1989 Micromaster series had a vendor table and decided that it was wiser to put this tag on the toy rather than a proper price tag. Apparently somebody knew I didn't have a G1 1989 Countdown in my collection, so you walk by and you see a sticker with that on it. You know, I don't know what to do. Do I cave to peer pressure? Do I not? I don't know. I mean, does it even count as caving to peer pressure if you know that it's an item that you want? I don't know, but anyway, looking at other aspects of the show, it was fun just to hunt around for stuff, and being given the entire duration of Saturday and Sunday made for an enjoyable time just browsing tables and meeting people, some of whom are already familiar with the channel, and others who just want to talk toys in general. When the Saturday portion of the show ended, we took a stop over to Cherry Bomb Toys, where B, the owner, took myself and a few friends for a short tour of the shop. This is his new shop, having just moved over from a previous location earlier on in the year, so it was the first time that I got to step inside and take a peek. Now, I'll admit that the shop is usually stocked a lot more than this, and that's because Cherry Bomb Toys had about a dozen tables or so worth of stuff at the toy fair itself, so that's where the bulk of the store inventory was. The shop is very well decorated though, and they will be reopening their museum section again within a few months of when this video airs, so it's quite the destination place to visit for those who happen to be in the area. And while in the basement of the shop, I found a portrait of Ralph? Anyway, I'll let that hang in the air for a moment. Another cool thing is that next to Cherry Bomb Toys was this board game cafe place where you could just order food and help yourself to some board game nights with your friends. Pretty neat place and literally a few seconds walk from Cherry Bomb's door. The Sunday part of the show was a bit quieter but still had a steady flow of traffic. The good thing about a 2-day show is being able to mull over some of the potential purchases that you're thinking of and then coming back to grab an item when you've had a bit more time to decide. That is of course assuming that someone else hasn't gotten to the item before you, so I suppose now is as good a time as any to have a look at my toy show haul. The first thing that I grabbed was this boxed vintage 1981 Kenner Star Wars Dagobah playset from the Empire Strikes Back film. The vendor had the box in excellent condition and the playset was in equally good shape. The foam piece actually is more or less intact, which is very rare for a toy that's this old. It was missing the cylindrical unit that plugs into R2-D2, but with the box being so nice and the foam not being dismantled, I couldn't pass this piece up, especially with it being sold at more than a fair price. Shortly after, I also snagged this vintage UK Action Force Red Shadows laser exterminator with its box and insert. While it didn't have the driver for it, I do have the figure at home, so that made it an easy choice for me to snag and make this purchase. My buddy Peter also found me this Kenner Star Wars Dengar figure, as he knew that I had the weapon for it and could easily complete it. I also got the Star Wars Black Series Basta Lashan figure from Cherry Bomb Toys, since I was and remain a huge fan of the Knights of the Old Republic video game series, where she is quite an important character. My partner in toy crime, Steve, was also in the area, and I got to fiddle with loose versions of the final production samples for our Delta 17 War in the Shadows toy line. This was quite cool for me because the final test shots he sent to me from my own collection are carded, and of course I did not want to open them, and the ones that we had on display at Joe Fest were a combination of Paint Master, pre-factory prototypes, and the uncolored test shot samples, so it was nice to hold the final samples in hand, and trust me, they're as nice as they look. Steve also gifted me a copy of the recent Toy Collector magazine, and we got Delta 17 featured inside this issue on the same splash page as the Roboskull Project and Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, keeping us in good company. And yeah, I did cave and get the 1989 Transformers Micromasters Countdown base, and with it being complete, in good condition, having little to no fade on the easily yellowed rocket component, plus having a great condition Micromaster, I felt I couldn't pass it up. Especially seeing as I had one in my collection years ago and I grew to miss it when I got rid of it some years ago. I guess it's safe to say that I'll be keeping this one at least for a little while. But what I'll mention as the best part of my toy haul is this Mythic Legion's Celtus figure from the 2017 Coliseum Wave, who along with the Adamon figure both debuted at PowerCon in 2017. If you're not a Mythic Legions collector, what I'll enlighten you to the fact is that this is one of the more desirable figures in the line and commanding an incredibly high price on the secondary market, so I was beyond surprised when I saw the figure for sale out in the wild at this show. And yes, have a look at the price, which I almost thought was a prank when I was digging through and found the figure. The staff is broken but can be glued back together, and the figure is indeed complete, and I'll also point out that this is indeed among the Mythic Legion's holy grails that exist out there. Yes, Celtus is considered as a nod to Skeletor, and interestingly his counterpart Adamon, who is an homage to He-Man or Prince Adam, was also present at the show, albeit closer to the market value. Do note that these are Canadian prices you're looking at, so you do have to consider the 30 to 40% price conversion to American dollars in your heads when you're comparing market values. A lot of the prices you see in this video aren't necessarily overpriced when considering Canadian dollars, and most vendors were at least a little bit bargainable on their prices within reason. And that was my journey to the Fall 2023 Victoria's Ultimate Hobby and Toy Fair. Do let me know in the comments if you saw some toys that you liked, and hit that like button on your way out. If you enjoyed this video, don't go anywhere just yet. You can have a look at some other toy hunting videos by clicking on this link right over here, or for a look at my personal toy collection, you can click right over here. Otherwise, we'll see you all next time. Take care.